Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to BEd Honors and BESP Content-based classes for the subject Teaching and Mentoring Assessment B. My name is Mr. Teddy Shikukuma, and I will be taking you through to prepare you for the upcoming examination for this particular module. First of all, I would like us to start with the action verbs. The action verbs are the verbs that I use in order to construct the sentence, the question. And these action verbs help you to guide you on what to specifically address, what question or what answers is expected from you. So it depends on the verb that is used to construct the question. So let's look at the verbs one by one. Analyze. Should the guiding verb or the action verb that is started with start the question is analyzed, then what is that you are going to do? You are going to examine information in detail. And if the question says calculate, then of course what you are going to do is you are going to give a numerical answer from given figures. Should a question ask you to comment, then of course it says you are required to discuss briefly by giving positive and negative points. So you are looking at the two, positive and negative. So you are giving the comments briefly. It says briefly, so that's also important. Compare. If the question is asking you to compare, then of course you are looking at the two phenomena and you have to draw the conclusion about the similarities and differences of that particular point that you are given or perspective that is given to you. Contrast. What you are required to do in this case is to look for similarities. If you are doing the contrast, only similarities. Remember in the first one you said comparisons, the concentration is on differences and similarities, while contrast, it's one-way traffic. So you are only going to concentrate on the similarities. Criticize. Give reasonable judgment after weighing the facts carefully. So if you have to criticize, then you have to give the reasonable judgment. But first of all, you have to do the weighing of the facts very, very carefully before you draw to that conclusion or to that judgment. Deduce. If you are deducing, use the information provided in order to reach to the conclusion. And define, of course, this is also one of the popular action verb that mostly comes in examination. Then if you are defining, then you are giving the precise brief meaning and features of that particular perspective. Demonstrate. Show by examples. Remember the action verbs that I'm bringing to your attention now. I did not take them from somewhere, but they are taken at the beginning of your module. But you should not be limited to that definition. You can also make use of the dictionary just to expand that knowledge on that particular verb for you to deal with the questions successively. So if you are demonstrating, so you show by examples. Describe. This obviously this verb is it's ever in an examination. You provide detailed features for and against. So there are two-way traffic here, for and against. Excuse me. Determine. Use provided information to work out the answer. The information is already provided, so you are driving now to that answer with based on the information that is given to you. Distinguish. Describe two phenomena by query giving differences of the differences between these two phenomena. So if you have to distinguish, then that's what you have to to present. Excuse me. Estimate. If you are estimating, then you are giving the impact of something. Evaluate. You determine the value of something as per set criteria that is already given. Explain. This is also a must in an examination, this particular verb. You describe by indicating relationships between things. And find, obviously, if the question requires you to find, then what you are going to do is just to do calculation, measurements, and determining. Okay, we continue with the verbs. Identify. If you are to identify what you are simply going to do, you recognize a name. As simple as that, you recognize a name. Illustrate, you describe with examples. Not just a description, but it should be accompanied by examples. Interpret. Describe something, explain the meaning of graphical information. So you have to do two in one here. You describe and then you explain. Okay. Examine. Identify detailed features of something. So if you are to examine in an examination, you have to identify detailed features of something. List. If you are listing, it's very simple, because when you are listing, you are simply giving facts, names, objects. You don't have to explain. So it's important for you to know if the question is saying describe, then you just do the description. Explain, you just do the description, but not the other way around. List, you're simply doing the listing. Outline, give an overview and indicate the main features. So crucial. That is also one of the popular verbs that I use when I'm constructing the questions of examination or in an assignment. Give an overview and indicate the main features. Summarize. Simply focus on the main ideas. You do not have to venture into examples. Okay, now we start. We go into the details of the presentation. You have to look at these very, very carefully to prepare yourself quite well for an examination. And as I said, don't limit yourself to the study guide that is given to you, but you can expand your knowledge as much as you can to prepare well for an examination. And you know, when you are studying, you should not only study for examination purposes. Otherwise, you will end up memorizing only, and you are not going to broaden your knowledge. But you should have also that attitude that, yes, I want to expand my knowledge as a teacher so that I can perform well in my presentation, my daily presentation in the classroom. Because what you are getting, the knowledge that you are getting in this institution, you are going to plow it back into the society in the classroom for that matter. Discuss the components that are characteristic of a school culture. What are those components? Remember here, our action verb is discuss. And the key word here, components. You are only looking at the components that defines a school or that define a school culture. So prepare this quite well. But understand what the action verb is. You must understand what are the key principal words here, components, and what you have to bring in school culture. So you marry the two for you to be able to give that discussion in an examination. I always advise students that when you are preparing for an examination, you can draw a spider diagram and you have now components there in the center, and on the sides you now look at the characteristic school culture. What is that surrounding that particular component or those components? But here, remember, you're not listing only, you are giving the discussion. You have to discuss. Analyze possible barriers for creating a coaching culture in a school. Here, what you have to do is to give analysis. And our focal verb or focal word here is possible barriers. Then you bring in the element of coaching culture in a school. So what are those barriers? So you have to analyze the barriers for creating a coaching culture in a school. So we are talking about school culture here. So you should understand that also. Central point, school culture. Give examples of intrinsic rewards and briefly discuss each one. So we are talking about intrinsic rewards. Now you are going to give examples, and each of these intrinsic rewards must be discussed one by one. So please go back to the study guide, and you should know what is expected from you here. We are talking about intrinsic rewards, and you have to give that discussion, brief discussion for each. Evaluate ways of obtaining information from learners. Ways of obtaining information from learners. We do this as teachers on daily basis. So you have to give now that evaluation of those ways that we utilize when we are trying to get information from our learners back at school, back in our classroom. What are those ways? So you must evaluate them. Remember, you are doing evaluation, and we've spoken about this verb, evaluate. So you must know what is that you are going to do with this question. And then we come to the simple and the easiest one, that verb. If you see the verb list, then you're just going to give. You don't have to discuss, you don't have to evaluate, you don't have to explain. You just give a mere listing. List important factors of good teaching practice. The factors of a good teaching practice. What are those factors? So you just list them, as simple as that. Highlight the activities that encompass performance management. Highlight. We have a verb, highlight. So that's the action verb, and we are looking at the activities. What are those activities that encompass performance management? Because in this subject, teaching, assessment, and mentoring, we have to bring in the element of management. So now we are talking about performance management. What are the activities? Highlight. And then the other one of my popular words also, or verb, discuss. Discuss where it is important to manage performance. Why is it very important? Give that discussion. Remember, the verb says discuss. Why? The reason of the reason why it's important to manage performance. So the key word is performance. And then the next one, what are the phases of performance management? So you give the phases. Those phases of performance management, just give them. Establish reasons why teachers resist performance management. In any organization, we see resistance, and resistance can be dealt with in anyhow. But people do not just do resist without any reason. So in this case, you have to establish reasons why teachers resist performance management. Why do they resist? You find out. So these are the things that you observe on a regular basis at your workplace. What are the characteristics? It was supposed to be characteristics, not one, of ongoing effective feedback. So we are talking about ongoing effective feedback. There are characteristics for this. So please mention them. The next slide, still on the presentation. Explain what self-assessment allows teachers to do. We do self-assessment. I remember when I was a teacher, at the end of every year, you do self-assessment, and then you have to compile that information that you send to the circuit, that sent to the regional office later, to determine the criteria. Now, what self-assessment allows teachers to do? What will you do if you are to do self-assessment? What will it allow you to do? So you look at that. Evaluate the relationship between mentorship and performance management. Now we are talking about two terminologies here: mentorship, performance management. Now you look at the relationship between the two. You have to evaluate it. evaluate the relationship between mentorship as well as performance management. What is that they have in common? How will you create a coaching or mentorship culture in your school? Now it's talking about creativity. How will you bring it up? How will you create? How do you introduce a coaching or mentorship culture in your school? Because it's needed. We have spoken about mentorship and coaching. Now they should be created at school. But how will you do it? How will you do it? Because it's needed. It contributes to the well-being and the conducive. It creates conducive environment at any given organization. What characteristics that mentors need to possess? So mentors cannot just be any individual, just somebody picked up from the staff room, be a mentor. But a person should possess certain characteristics. What are those characteristics that a mentor should have? Outline the benefits of school audit. It's this is one of the elements that should be exercised at any given school or any given institution. Audit. Why should it be conducted? What benefits does audit have in any given organization, but particularly for you, the benefits of school audit? What are the benefits? Present the key areas of auditing. There must be some areas of auditing, then you have to present them in an examination. Ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the conclusion. We have come to the end of this presentation. What I would like to tell you is, please prepare thoroughly for examination. Revise all the units and once more, go back to the action verbs. They are the beginning of your study guides. Go back there. You should have an understanding of each verb for you to be able to deal with the question. Because if you are told to explain and then you end up describing, you have gone astray, and then you will not be able to be credited with the marks because what you have addressed is not what is asked. So please, the verbs will guide you to answer what is asked. So it's important. Utilize the experience that you have acquired so far as a teacher, or that you have acquired so far in studying this particular program. And please do not leave, I beg you, do not leave any question unattended, because if you attempt that question, you'll be able to get the things right. Don't say that the question is difficult and then you leave it blank. You will end up losing marks and you will end up retaking this module again over and over. So we don't want that. Consult some other sources for skills and knowledge expansion when you are preparing for an examination. So please don't hesitate. Go to internet, go to the library, get some books. There are prescribed books that are written in your module, so consult them and then just prepare yourself quite well for an examination. We want distinctions. All the best of luck. You can call me. My mobile's 0811480977 or 0812531801. You can also drop me an email if you don't mind. My email address is t_shikukumu@yahoo.co.uk. Thank you very much for coming and best of luck in your examination.